If there's just one thing I'm really good at, it's making tons of money running Facebook ads. I've been in this game since 2012, and in that time, I've run ads for some of the biggest companies in the world, like VaynerMedia, Gary Vee's company, and huge direct-to-consumer brands like BarkBox that went from $150 million to over $500 million in revenue and went public during the time that I was running their ads. Over the last decade, I have seen, breathed, and literally learned everything you need to know about paid advertising. And I've been able to scale brands from 6, 7, 8, even 9 figures, like Young Nails, who went from $180,000 in advertising revenue to over $1 million in advertising revenue per month. And I've done this exact same thing for dozens of brands. People come to me week after week looking for one-on-one mentorship to try to give them the keys to success for what I've learned and apply it to their business. But if I'm completely realistic, there is no way that I could scale that. There's no way I could build the business that I'm building and help every single person one-on-one. So today I'm going to be giving you everything that I know about Facebook ads completely for free for you to scale from 0 all the way to the $10 million per month mark. This is based on the experience that I individually have and that we've learned from scaling dozens of different advertising campaigns. And look, if this is a bad time and you're going to click off this video in 5 minutes, then save it for later. This is something you need to take complete notes on and follow from start to finish. It's the only way you're going to understand all of the little nuances, because the basic fundamentals you already know. You could watch the basic fundamentals from thousands of other videos, but what I'm giving you today is the true secret sauce. This is the actual detail that you need to understand to actually scale, not how to exactly set up the campaign or that one setting. I'm talking individual nuances to actually grow and scale your business today. In this video, I'm going to be covering things like how to keep up with Facebook's ever-changing algorithm, the best setups and structures that you have to run in your ad account, especially for direct-to-consumer e-commerce businesses, how to actually target the right people at the right time. That's a huge difference than just targeting the right people. How to save loads of money on wasted ad spend and avoid making the most common mistakes that nearly everyone is making in the market today. And the 5 biggest secrets that I've learned when managing Facebook ads over the last 11 years, and specifically how every single one of these secrets have helped me improve my return on ad spend on average for every single client that I've ever managed. So if you stick through this video and watch to the end, you're going to be able to mentally download the last 11 years of Facebook knowledge that I have gathered, and you're going to be able to apply it to your ad accounts through step-by-step guidance to increase your return on ad spend, increase your ad profit, and of course, grow your business. Now, before we dive into anything complicated, I want to talk to you about the fundamentals. Now, what even are the fundamentals? Because everyone seems to have a little bit of a different setup, a little bit of a different way that they approach Facebook. I'm going to give you my fundamentals, the most important things that you need to know right off the top that are going to set you up for success. Over the years, I've seen dozens and dozens of Facebook advertisers or just marketers in general go into the Facebook Ads Manager and really not know where to start. They kind of click on random things. They have random columns set up. They've tested 100 different campaigns. They don't know what to actually go to that has driven results historically for hundreds and hundreds of businesses. So it's kind of like they're going to the grocery store without a list. They're literally going to the grocery store, walking down every single aisle. And along the way, what happens is they find that cereal that sounds good. They find that next thing that sounds good. By the time they get to the checkout, they've not only doubled their cost, which is literally a direct reference to Facebook ads, but they've also added things that they don't even want, and they've probably missed the most important things that they said they were going to get on their way there, right? You forget the lettuce that you were going to make your salads with for the week, and you wind up eating cereal for dinner or something crappy. I think you get the point. The key here is that if you don't know the fundamentals, you're going to miss a whole lot, and you're going to waste a ton of spend on things that don't really matter and that you actually don't want to run anyway. So in real life, in the Facebook Ads Manager, you've probably seen new tools, new developments, new pixels, conversions API, iOS 14.5. You've seen so many things change over the years. In fact, they've just added new features last month. You have to be on top of all of this stuff because some of it works and some of it totally does not work. So let me take you inside my ads manager, show you exactly what works and how I set things up. So when we go into our Facebook ads manager, one of the most important things to just set the foundation is setting up the correct columns. So what I want you to do is literally pause and write down every single one of these columns that I have set, because these should be the columns that you have. Now, keep in mind, you may need to add to these if you're doing something different, but these are the fundamentals, these are the basics. These are the foundation for your ad account. So what we have here is in the very first column, we have the campaign, of course. Next, we have budget, amount spent. This is guiding your entire account. You need to know how much you're spending every single day, every single hour. Then we have purchases and cost per purchase. So cost per purchase is literally how much it costs to get one single purchase. It is not new customer acquisition. It is just the cost to acquire a purchase. Next is purchase conversion value, AKA revenue. Make sure you set this up as total sales in Shopify, not your gross sales, because that's going to mess things up when you do some discounts. Next piece is purchase return on ad spend, ROAS, one of the most common, most popular metrics. Even though ROAS gets a little bit of hate, it really just gives you a good idea of overall performance, which is why I like to have it in every single account that we run. Next here, you're going to notice some secondary metrics. So we have cost per outbound click, which is just the cost to actually get someone to your site. We don't care about all CPC. All CPC or all cost per click is literally anyone who clicks on your ad in any way, shape, or form. They can go to your Instagram page. They could just click the like button. That counts as a CPC. We don't like that. We like outbound clicks that's to your site. Next is conversion rate. Conversion rate, of course, is a huge guiding force. We need to understand, how does each campaign, how does each ad set, and how does each ad actually convert over long periods of time. We then have outbound clicks, which really should be going before cost per outbound click, but doesn't matter. Frequency is a huge metric for everyone to understand. All frequency is the average amount of times someone saw your ad. Now, people get freaked out by frequency. Frequency sometimes can get really, really high, especially during sale periods or when you're spending a lot of money. But what you need to understand is how your frequency balances out with your return on ad spend. So if you see a super high frequency and a very low return on ad spend, you need to be careful of those relationships. But for this exercise only, just get frequency in there. And then after frequency, reach, impressions, and CPM. CPM is the guiding force. Now, this is just a little trick of mine, something that I like to include in videos like this. CPM, I put all the way on the right side of my entire ad account. The reason I do this is because when I'm in the actual ad account, it's really easy to scroll and see a bunch of numbers and get lost. You get lost very, very quickly, especially as I add more columns and I'm looking at some in-depth stuff. But what's really easy to do is flick to the right and see my CPMs all the way on the right side. It's something I always like to have all the way on the right so I could flick real quick, understand my CPM. Your CPM, by the way, is your cost per 1,000 impressions. That is essentially your cost of advertising. So you could think about this as a relationship game. Now, let me take you to the whiteboard for a second. Think about it like this. Your CPM is your cost per 1,000 impressions, so equals 1,000 impressions. Your CPC is your cost per click. Your CTR is your click-through rate. We'll just say click rate. And your CVR is your conversion rate. Now, what you really need to understand here is that each of these have a massive impact on one another. This is the most important thing that you need to really understand from these four metrics, because you could technically calculate everything else in your ad account using these four metrics, just about everything else. As long as you had average order value in here, you'd be able to actually derive purchase value, revenue, ROAS. There's so much you can grab from here. But what I really want you to understand is that there's relationships between each of these four. And this is something that I don't normally talk about because it's a little more advanced, but I really, really want this video to really hit home for you because it's supposed to be a value bomb, I'll be honest. So now that we know four of our most important metrics, these are technically secondary metrics, but they actually relate to what's more important, the return on ad spend, the actual purchase value, the revenue, the conversion rate, etc. They all relate. So what I really want everyone to understand is, how do these secondary metrics bring us up to scale and actually allow us to drive more revenue for the business using Facebook ads? So really where it starts is your CPM, or your cost of advertising. Your CPM, if it is too high, you're going to have to figure out a way to get your CPC and your CTR down. The problem often is that if CPC is high, CTR is usually low. So the way that you can resolve all three of these is by improving your click-through rate. If you improve click-through rate, your CPCs are going to go down, and then your CPM is going to go down, because what this shows is your relevance is higher. So if you have high click-through rate and you have low CPC and low CPM, your relevance is high, because you're basically showing ads to the right people at the right time, and you're showing them a relevant, good product. That's key here too. Now, how does this all tie into you making money? Right here on your conversion rate. So if you have high CPM, high CPC, and low CTR and low conversion rate, you're not going to make it. You need to iterate on every single piece of this. You need to figure out a way to make your ads stickier, and you need to figure out a way to make your products convert better on your website. That is the only way you're going to be successful in Facebook ads. In fact, if all of those metrics are shot for you right now, you need to go start there. That is the very first place that you need to completely take care of. After that, once we figure out, can we get conversion rate to be, let's say, somewhere in between, or can we get conversion rate up, right? If conversion rate starts to get above 1%, 2%, then we need to focus on click-through rate, CPC, and CPM. Because if you have a high conversion rate, a high click-through rate, that will result in a low CPC and a low CPM. Overall, what does this mean? It means a whole lot of money. Really simply put, if you have high conversion rate, high CTR, low CPC, low CPM, you're going to be putting yourself in a bracket where you can scale. That is the goal of all the secondary metrics. So as we head back into the ad account, look very, very closely at your secondary metrics. Really start to understand, where are my CPMs different? Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ads that are actually way higher in CPM and way lower in click-through rate? If so, you have to slice those out. So you always want to understand those relationships, because ROAS is not a magic number. Return on ad spend and revenue are not magic numbers. They don't just get spit out back to us by Facebook. The reality is it's purely a relationship in those 4 metrics that we just went through: CPM, CPC, CTR, and CVR. All of those together equate to purchases. The next layer on top of that is average order value. So if we add average order value to the mix here, if our average order value is high, of course, we can start adding dollar signs, right? If our average order value goes up, then excellent, we are going to start making more money. However, be very careful. If you increase your prices or if your average order value is too high, then you're going to need to understand the relationship between AOV and conversion rate and AOV and CPM. Because if your average order value gets too high, if you start charging way too much for your products, what's going to happen is your conversion rate is going to go down. As your conversion rate goes down, naturally your CTR, your CPC, and your CPM are going to go down as well. It's going to make your advertising cost significantly higher. Okay, so we are still in fundamentals here, so just keep in mind, there's so much more to come in this video. Now, to start off here, we've gone through our column set. The next thing you need to do is go into the left-hand side of your Facebook Ads Manager and click Advertiser Settings. Your advertiser settings, this entire suite is new as of the last year. Really, there used to be nothing you would modify in here. It used to just be a place for billing, beneficiaries, and stuff like that. Now, what you need to do now is actually set up nearly every single part of this. So I'm going to take you through it in light speed so you can copy and paste this into your ad account. So first comes first is account controls. Account controls apply to your entire ad account. So if you can only show up in one part of the entire country or wherever you're showing ads, or there's placements that you can't deliver on for certain reasons, this is the place to edit it, because you don't need to edit it again. However, be very, very careful. This is where listening closely is going to pay off for you. So my business advertisers age restricted goods or services. A lot of people, I've seen this so many times, a lot of people click this button, they set things to 21 or 25 under the assumption that they will get just targeting people who are 25 plus or whatever age range they're aiming for. The real reality of this is this one adjustment puts a little mark on your account in the back end so you can't even see it, and it says, oh, this is a restricted account. We can't show this to everyone. When you can't show to everyone, your CPMs go up, your CPCs go up, your click-through rates go down, and your cost of advertising significantly goes up. That's all bad news. So unless you are truly restricted, like you're selling alcohol or really, truly age-restricted goods and services, do not select this ever. The next piece is my business can only advertise in specific locations. If you're running something like local lead gen or you're a local store, or you just service a specific part of the country or the world, of course, select this, not a problem. The next piece is my business restricts advertising to some audience to protect its brand. Don't select this. I'm just going to keep it real with you. We do not want to select this in 99% of cases. And then the last one, my business doesn't show ads to its own employees. Show your ads to your own employees. Don't worry about the $5 or $10 it's going to cost you over the course of the month. Just seeing your ads in the wild, like when you're scrolling Instagram or when your team or your employees are scrolling Instagram, is going to be huge for you because you're going to catch errors. Everyone makes small little tweaks and errors in their ad account. Now, we just want to make sure that we kind of have quality control automatically because we're all surfing Instagram, we're all surfing Facebook. Puts us in a place where we can kind of do our check work without actually having to quadruple check every single thing. Next here is placement controls. Do not set this. Placement controls is where you can limit feeds, apps, and sites. We do not want to select this. There's almost no case for you're selecting this, so go ahead and click cancel on that. Next is meta verified. So you're going to see a meta verified opportunity here. Now, in this case, I'm showing you a dummy account, so there is no verification. However, you should always try to get verified. The steps to get verified are not that complicated. You literally just need to identify yourself, show that you're a real business, you get enhanced support, you get more features that come soon, you get more betas and free money into your account like ad credits, and most importantly, you get a little blue check mark that shows advertisers and customers that you are legit. So get meta verified very, very easy. Next piece, and this is the hottest topic of it all, is Advantage Plus Creative. Now, I'm going to make some adjustments here because I think this is great great. So we wanted to test this out very, very expansively across just a few of our clients. And as we tested this out, we recognized that A, it doesn't work as well as we wish it did. And B, we're going to not test it anymore. So Advantage Plus Creatives is basically the opportunity for Facebook to make changes to your ad account without you knowing about it on enhancements that may roll out in the future. So what we've done is we've tested new enhancements. I'm telling you now, do not test new enhancements. These only happen to about 5% of your total ad impressions, and it's truly just not worth it. So unselect test new enhancements. And then for AI generation features, in most cases, you are unselecting all of these. So we can click save here. These are very small beta tested features. You might not even have them available to you, but if you do, you don't need to be a test dummy here. When these roll out and are finally up to speed that they need to be, go ahead and select them. Next piece here is audience segments. This is going to be the most impactful for actually evaluating audiences, which we're going to get to next, coming very, very soon for the best audiences that you need to run to scale. When you're in this audience section, you have engaged audiences, existing customers, and then building audience URL parameters. What we care about is engaged audiences and existing customers. This is going to let us see very clearly in the Facebook Ads Manager, which I'll show you in 2 seconds. It's going to show us who's engaged, who's existing, and who's new. So you can actually see how much money you're spending on new customers, existing customers, and people who have already engaged with you. So for your engaged audience, you're going to open this up. And I really want you to put your Instagram followers, your Facebook followers, and anyone who's been to your site over the last 30 days. So 30-day IG, 30-day Facebook, and 30-day site visitors. For existing customers, this should be anyone who's ever made a purchase from you. For existing customers, you want to have your Facebook Pixel purchasers, and you want to have anyone from your CRM. So if you're using Klaviyo, if you're using MailChimp, whatever, just get your CRM imported through the native integration into the existing customers list. Now, let me actually show you what this means. So this is something that everyone needs to understand that I would say 9 out of 10 people don't even know this exists. When you go into your Facebook Ads Manager and you click breakdown, there's an option here that says audience segments. You're not going to see it if you haven't used it before, so you need to type it in. Type in audience, you'll see audience segments right here. This is going to allow us to view our data by new, existing, and engaged customers. So when we click this, you could see the breakdowns right here. We could see through this ad account right here on this very first campaign that we're looking at that $73,000 was spent on new customers, existing customers, $15,000 spent, engaged audiences, $27,000 spent. So while we had a 4.46 return on ad spend, which is very solid for this brand, we did so with a 3.68 on new customers. We got a 5.97 on existing customers and a 5.68 on engaged customers. This is so critical because it allows me to see the distribution in my ad account. Because one thing that people are starting to stray away from is clear swim lanes. We don't really have as many exclusions as we used to in ad accounts, which is fine. This is a feature that allows us to see what's working and what's not working based on audience cohort. Now, the next fundamental I want to break down for you is what kinds of ads to run. Now, we're going to have a whole section on creative, so I'm going to get to that in just a few minutes here. But what I want to show you right now is just get you the bare bones. I want to get you the most critical part of this because this is going to set the foundation for the rest of this video where I go through all the little details. So I want to show you this ad account right here. It's the same ad account we were just looking at. So as you can see from our naming convention here, we have static, video, static video. We have a mix, right? It's very clear. We have a mix of statics and a mix of videos. The key of this mix is that we're now able to show up on so many different placements. That is something that people get so confused about. For some reason, people get so caught up in just running videos or just running images or just running stories or just running reels. The key is to have diversity of creative across your entire ad account. So know that. Take one thing away from this section. Just know that if you have a diversity of creatives, different kinds of statics, different kinds of images, different kinds of carousels, different kinds of videos, etc., that is going to provide the maximum efficiency in your ad account. So the main reason for the need for creative diversity is because there's different ways to consume on each of these platforms. So think about both Facebook and Instagram. There's currently a few ways that you can consume media in general. First is the classic Facebook feed. That's where things come in a square format. So we're going to call this feed. Next is stories. So these are mostly vertical videos and these are stories. Then we have reels, which are mostly vertical, but not full screen vertical. So they're a little bit different. And then after that, we have the horizontal format, which is mostly underused, but this is going to be used on like display assets. So think about this. There's 3 main formats that work the best. And then there's also this horizontal format, number 4. We don't care as much about it, to be completely honest with you. But the key is that people consume the feed at a certain 1%. We're going to call it 33%. They consume stories a little bit less than 33%, but we'll call it 33%. And they consume reels at around 33% as well. It's actually gearing more and more towards reels and specifically video reels. But the key for right now is that it's almost an even split and a lot of the value is still coming from feeds. So what I want to think about here is if we just ran feed, if we just ran a bunch of Square assets, we're toast because we're only available to 33% of the people. If we limit ourselves to just 33% of the people, our CPMs are going to go up, our click-through rates are going to go down, our cost per clicks are going to go up. And then of course, cost of advertising is going to be brutal. It's going to be really, really hard for us to compete. So what you need to do is you need to have creative diversity for every single format so that you could actually show up everywhere. You could show up on more eyeballs, right? If you said there was 3 ad platforms, imagine if there was Facebook number 1, Facebook number 2, and Facebook number 3, and each of those had the same amount of people, you would for sure make creative for every single ad format, hands down. So you need to gear your creative to have different cuts for different formats. It's critical. Okay, we just hit a lot. Now that was the fundamentals. These are some of just the early tips, and you can see I'm trying not to go too advanced too early, but let's keep it real. I always do. I always get a little bit too far into the weeds. So now we're going to get more and more advanced as this video goes on. I'm going to give you as much detail as possible on literally everything. Time and time again, I audit dozens of ad accounts and I see the same thing over and over. One of the most controversial topics is how to target the right audience at the right time. The hot topic of targeting. So listen up here, because even if you feel like you know everything about targeting and audiences, I promise you there's no way you walk away with zero value with what I'm about to share with you. If any time over the last year you've tried to do individual interest targeting or just any sort of targeting in audiences, you probably feel like you're playing darts with a blindfold on, and that's not your fault. Because ever since iOS 14.5, we kind of went from sharpshooter to literally blindfold. There was no transition. It was a hard swap. Essentially overnight, every single ad account in the world that was targeting audiences saw a decline. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I could hit a bullseye every single time, because I'd be completely lying to you. The reality is that if you have that blindfold on and you're playing a game of darts, there's a good chance you're not even coming close to the dartboard. You might be hitting the dartboard on the other side of the entire building. What you really want to make sure you're doing is at least hitting the dartboard that you're aiming for. And that's why targeting is still so important, because even if it's not perfect like it used to be, it is still the best targeting platform of all time. Facebook is still the best. It is still the king. So here's how we do it. So in order to target properly, the very first thing we need to do is set up the right campaign. So click create in your campaign, click sales as your campaign objective, click continue, and then here is the big change. Advantage Plus Shopping Campaign, also known as ASC, that is something that we will not be able to target anyone. It's going to be 100% broad. It's going to target the entire United States or whatever geographic region you're targeting. Now, what we want to select is manual sales campaign. Once we do this, we're actually going to be able to set up audiences at the ad set level. So at the campaign level, first things first is we just need to make sure we're targeting the right people, our pixels are set up properly. We need to get the fundamentals right. So for this, right away, I'm noticing that it's set up for Advantage Plus catalog ads. So this is not what we actually want to run here. We want to run traditional creative. So we are not running catalog ads. We're running traditional creative. Next piece is Advantage Campaign Budget. This is formerly known as CBO or ABO. So we want to select this on. Advantage Campaign Budget is going to distribute our budget across ad sets that we run, so we actually get the best cost per result. So in this case, set your Advantage Campaign Budget, set your daily budget to whatever you feel like you could set. Make sure it's at least once your average order value. Campaign bid strategy for this case is going to be highest volume or value, and then there's going to be no other significant changes. We're going to move to the ad set level, which is where targeting is actually going to begin. If you have a Facebook shop, set up website and shop, click this. If not, just select website. When you scroll down just a little bit more here, the performance goal is going to be either maximize number of conversions or maximize value of conversions. There's a really big important nuance between these. If you set for maximize value of conversions, you'll notice down here in your attribution setting, you're not able to set any view through. So for this example, I really want you to set maximize number of conversions. This is going to get you the most amount of conversions for your ad spend. This way, you're going to see click through and view through, which we actually do want. This is going to give give us the most data to inform the pixel, to inform the campaign and the ad set to actually make it target the right people at the right time. Moving down, dynamic creative. Most dynamic creative is completely gone by now. If you see this option, just make sure it is off. And then as we go down to budget and schedule, no changes should be made here. This is set to run every single day. The same amount of money should technically be spent per day. We're going to get into that later in this video on one of my secrets. And then as we go to audience controls and Advantage Plus audience, this is where things have changed so much in the last year. So first off, for audience controls, you most likely don't need to do anything here. However, there's a huge difference between the Advantage Plus audience. Now, so what you might want to do is you see this, you click audience suggestion, optional, and you go ahead and you put in a detailed targeting audience. So in this case, I'll just give the example of Nike, right? Let's just say we want to target Nike for some reason, and we want to find the interest for Nike. Excellent. Now, once we do that, the really key thing here is that if you're running an Advantage Plus audience, read this. Our ad technology automatically finds your audience. If you share an audience suggestion, this is the key word here, we'll prioritize audience matching this profile before searching more widely. So it basically says we're going to take your suggestion and then we're going to move beyond that. What we actually want to do is say, no, we don't like that. Switch to original audience. Now, this is the biggest red flag for me. Using Advantage Plus audience may improve performance. So it wants us to do this. It wants us to target basically everyone. And Facebook is basically telling us you will get an up to 33% lower cost per result, aka 33% better return based on your experiment. However, look at the details. This experiment ran in May of 2023 with 16 advertisers for, what is that, 8 weeks? Come on, let's keep it real here. Facebook has thousands and hundreds of thousands of advertisers spending millions of dollars. They should have run this test 50 times over with dozens and dozens and dozens of different advertisers. Instead, they're still using an experiment for 8 weeks on 16 advertisers. To me, they haven't been able to reproduce this result. Therefore, use the original audience. It's not working. How I personally view it right now. That might change. 2 years from now, might be completely different, but we're not test dummies. We want to do what actually works, because a 5, 10, 20% difference in your ad performance could literally be the difference between you making hundreds of thousands of dollars for your business profitably or not. So it's really important. Once we select that original audience, a couple things change here. You're going to notice that that section before on location targeting has actually merged into this audience section here. Now, don't be a victim. Do not worry about selecting this. Don't select it. Just keep on scrolling down. What you need to check here is your locations are set properly, your ages are set properly, your genders are most likely set to all genders unless you have a very specific product. And then for the advantage detailed targeting, which is AKA your targeting, your interest targeting, here's the key. Take away one thing from this part, one interest at a time. Don't run Nike, Adidas, and Reebok. Run just Nike. If you want to test each of those interests, test them on their own in individual interest groups. Here's why. There's going to be a massive overlap in those audiences, but there's going to be small differences. And we're not setting targets to get triple the amount of revenue. We're not doing these little changes here. This is a waterfall effect. You don't set a single target to, completely transform your ad performance. What you do is you set your target, plus you set the right creatives, plus you do all the other things that we're talking about throughout this entire very long video. That's what gets you the doubling of performance. Those things all add up. This is a stack. You don't do one of these things one time and hope that everything fixes for you, because it doesn't. This is hard work. My job wouldn't exist if this was super easy. If you could watch one tutorial and be done forever, my job wouldn't exist. But the real reality of this is it's a stack. Each of these optimizations add on top of each other. So set your individual Nike audience, and if it works 3% better than your Reebok audience, excellent. You have a winner. You have 3% more improvement. Imagine you do that 5 times, you have 15% improvement in your ad account. That could literally be the difference for a lot of brands scaling between mass profitability and a loss on their profit and loss statement. So set Nike as your individual interest, and then you could ignore this because we can't get rid of it anymore. And then down to placements, set and leave Advantage Plus placements. Be careful on this one thing here. In your inventory filter section, make sure moderate inventory is selected. The most important part is just make sure limited inventory is not selected. If you have expanded inventory, you're technically fine. Just be careful. We don't want limited inventory. That's going to increase our ad cost. So you understand now that we have to set single interest audiences, and that actually applies beyond interests. That applies to all of your custom audiences as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the exact audiences across our entire Facebook account set up. So let's go right into the platform. So our Facebook account, the primary structure that we use involves 4 different campaigns. The very first campaign at the top is a prospecting CBO campaign. The purpose of this campaign is to test and to scale within the same campaign. The core idea of this campaign is that it completely revolves around adding new ad sets with new creatives. That is something you really need to understand here. So we're gonna click into this campaign. I'm gonna show you a look around in a live demo. So in this example, sorting by spend, we spent $131,000 to drive $525,000. It's at exactly 4.00 return on ad spend. Very, very, very solid metrics here. Now, what you're gonna notice is that there's a mix of different audiences. I know you can't see the second half of these names because they are client specific and they're client confidential, but what I want you to understand is that some of these are duplicates, and I'm going to break down how all of it works. So essentially what we do is every single time we launch a new pack of creative. So a pack of creative is anywhere between 2 and 20 different creatives that we launch at the same time. Those launches go into a brand new ad set every single time. I want to repeat that every single time they go into a new ad set. So what you need to do is you launch a new ad set every time you have new creatives. When you do this, you launch it 100% broad. That's key. It has to be 100% broad. So here's an example. Broad ad set. We can see all of our settings are completely normal. And what you're going to notice here is that we do not set Advantage Plus audiences, just like we talked about in the interest, which is why I set the stage with how to set up our audiences. So we set it up as an original audience. That's just what we went through in the last section here. And that's why you keep this 100% broad. It's going to be a little bit different than if we just select that Use Advantage Plus audience. It's just a little different. We have seen this work just a touch better, which is what we care about. Small changes to waterfall down to huge, huge impact. Every time we launch new creative, it gets launched within this ad set. Then what we do is on a weekly to bi-weekly basis, depending on how much money you're spending. So, in this case, in this account, when we're spending $131,000 over the course of a month for this particular campaign, great. We want to really move this quickly. Every week, every even 4 to 5 days, we want to use and start the graduation process, which I'm going to break down shortly. However, if you're just starting out, if you're spending $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, even $10,000 a month, you get a little slower. Every 2 weeks to even every 3 weeks, you want to do the graduation process. So what is the graduation process? This is a key part, and it's essentially the most important part to scaling. Now, before I tell you about it, I need to show you the campaign that you actually graduate into. So the graduation campaign is known as the ASC scale campaign. It is a scaling mechanism. So as you can see through this example here, our prospecting CBO campaign spent $131,000. Our scale campaign actually spent a little bit less than the prospecting CBO campaign, but it drove a higher return on ad spend. So in this case, it actually was more close to a 50-50 split, but in many cases, it'll actually favor the ASC scale campaign. Usually around 70% of the total budget will wind up there. It's not a foolproof number. It's just where it usually winds up. So what do? You take the top 10% of ads from your broad ad sets, your 100% broad testing ad sets, and you duplicate those ads into the scale campaign. Let me show you exactly what I mean. The way that we determine what is actually working and what we need to scale is by amount spent and return on ad spend. We are not cherry pickers. We do not go to the very bottom of the account and look for ridiculous return on ad spend. So for example, you would think this ad right here with $36 in spend and a 17.2 return on ad spend, a lot of people are going to take this ad and say, I'm going to scale this. I'm going to scale this. The reality of this ad is it doesn't actually work. It doesn't scale. Facebook would scale this ad if it was working better. So what we want to do is we want to take our top spending ads plus good return on ad spend. For example, this ad right here, 3,700 spend. It's a good portion of the total spend and a 5.59 return on ad spend. Excellent. That is one of the many. It's the only in this case that we're actually going to graduate. So instead of what most people do, which is they quickly duplicate or they copy, what we're going to do instead is we're going to click the normal duplicate button here. There is a reason for this. This is where the details matter. And we're going to select the other campaign, which is going to be our ASC campaign, as you can see right there. We're not going to have any ad set because it's an ASC, so just select the same ad set as the campaign title. Number of copies is 1, and here's the key: show existing reaction, comments, and shares on new ads. What this does is you can see here from literally the message from Facebook, you can see the engagement that you got on your previous ad in the testing campaign, and that's without setting a post ID. That's without doing anything fancy, sketchy, or behind the scenes. It's literally just the duplicate button and straight up. The key is if you quickly duplicate or if you copy or quickly duplicate, it doesn't always save that engagement. So what we need to do is do the exact way I said. You click this duplicate button and then you follow these steps. And very, very, very important, you make sure you show existing reactions, comments, and shares on new ads. So that's how we graduate. We take the top 10% and we always push them into the scale campaign over and over and over again. That's a very important distinction. Now, the next place we graduate is actually into interest audiences. So we built an interest audience before, and we kind of understand the general idea of audience targeting, but the key is you test at a broad level, and then you graduate into ASC, scale campaign, and interest-based campaign. And I mentioned before that this prospecting CBO underspent the ASC campaign. The reason it underspent the ASC campaign is because the interests crushed here. They did so well. As you can see, our top 2 ad sets were interest-based ad sets. Their return on ad spend was about 10 to 20% higher than the average. Huge wins in that case. And they spent the most amount of money. So they drove the most purchases, most revenue. They were interest-based. But what's the key? They only contained the top performing ads. I want to really hit that home. These were graduated ads only. So we took the top 10% from our broad ad sets and we graduated those into the interest ad sets. I hope that's clear as day. The graduation process, creating that scaling mechanism in your account, is one of the single most important things and changes that you can do to create a systemized approach to scaling. Okay, so we now clearly understand the purpose of the scale campaign and the purpose of the prospecting CBO campaign. The one nuance to this is you never, ever pause anything you duplicate. If it's working, you never pause it. I don't care if there's one ad left in an entire ad set or even an entire campaign. If it's working, if it's above your target KPI, just let it go. Let it go. We don't have egos here. We're not trying to make everything perfect and fancy. What we care about is results. So if you have a specific ad, campaign, or ad set that is truly hitting your target desired KPI, excellent. Keep it running. After we set up our prospecting and our scale campaigns, there's 2 more campaigns that we really need to focus on. And I'm going to give you a bonus campaign that we're just starting to roll out, but isn't 100% necessary, but just keep it in mind here because it is pretty important. So the next campaign is a retargeting campaign. The retargeting campaign needs to focus very, very clearly, and talking creative here, needs to focus very much on hitting your main objections of your product. If you sell one product, this is really easy because you need to just focus on what's the main 3 to 5 objections that I most often get, and we need to make ads very specific to those objections. On the flip side, if you sell dozens of products, you can't really do that as well. It's really hard to object every single product. In fact, you probably shouldn't. So what we like to do, and this is an example of a multi-product store, they have about 50 plus products here. So I'm going to show you the exact breakdowns that we hit, and you can modify these based on the size of your store. So first things first, you have a visitors 180-day audience. It's anyone who's been to our site over the last 180 days. This is a really, really large audience. And keep in mind, you could reduce this. In fact, in many cases, I like bringing this down to 30 days. Next, we have an add to cart 180 days. Again, reduce this down. It should always be a little bit bigger than your visitor audience, but it could be something like add to cart 60 days or add to cart 90 days. Next, we have engagers 90 days. This is anyone who's been to your Instagram or your Facebook page over the last 90 days. I would highly suggest bringing this down to 30 days. And if you have a big account, bring this down to 14 days. And lastly, we have all Klaviyo or all CRM. So wherever you're hosting all of your customer information, it's probably somewhere like Klaviyo, MailChimp, SendLane. There's a whole lot of other platforms out there. Make sure you're importing all of those customer IDs and those customer emails into the Facebook platform to feed this algorithm better and target all of them. As you can see in this case, it was actually our #1 spender. It didn't convert the best, but it was our top spender, where engagers and add to carts really converted well at 6+ return on ad spends. Okay, the next and final campaign is a retention campaign. Retention campaign is just focused on existing customers. What we like to do here is keep it simple. We like to target anyone over all time and anyone in the last 180 days. So if you've purchased in the last 180 days, you are one group. If you've purchased over all time, you are the next group. Very, very, very simple. Now, I did promise you a little secret that we're seeing work super well right now that fills some of the cracks with this strategy, probably gives you in the range of a 5 to 10% bump in your retargeting efforts. So this is getting people who have been to your site across the line. And this is only going to apply to multi-SKU stores. So people who have 20, 30 products plus, this is very specific to you. What you want to do is create a new campaign, setting a manual sales campaign. We are changing the Advantage Plus catalogs from off to on. So we are selecting this on, making sure we select our product catalog, keeping Advantage campaign budget on. And then what we're doing here is we're selecting our product set of all products, and we're going to audience type, and we're selecting retarget ads to people who interact with your products on and off Facebook. Do not click this. And then we are selecting viewed or added to cart, but not purchased over the last 14 days. And we need to go down to add exclusions here and exclude any purchasers over the last 14 days. So this, we want to specifically set 14-day purchasers. As you can see, I have this list already. So anyone who is purchased over the last 14 days, we are excluding. The reason for this setup is this fills the cracks. If I went to your site and I visited 20 of your 500 products, I'm going to continue to see those products over and over and over again on my Facebook, on my Instagram. This is exactly what we want to create. We want it to feel personalized. The extra on this is the bonus, I'd say, is excluding 14-day purchasers, because what many people don't know is this statement actually doesn't exclude them once they've made a purchase. It only excludes them from the products that they purchased. So if I viewed 20 products and I only purchased one, I'm still going to see ads for the other 19. That's a huge amount of ads that I'm seeing and wasting money. You could see a theme here is we don't want to waste. We don't want to waste. We want to leverage every dollar to its maximum efficiency. Let me take a step back. So look, when we think about targeting, the targeting and the setups that we have are the engine of your car. The vehicle, the actual outside, the body of the car, that's the creative. The driver is who's running your ad, and the road is actually the targeting. So think about it like that. Think about every time you target is the path. It's the way that you are choosing to run your ads. The setup, the structure, all of that is the engine. That's how fast you're physically going to get there. But if you take the really long route, no matter how fast your car is, you're not going to get there as if you take the most efficient, fastest route. So you need to combine both elements. That's what's key. The next thing we're going to talk about is the body of the car. This is what gets people turning their heads. Ultimately, not only do you have to get there quick and do it in the shortest route, but you also kind of want to turn some heads. And that's how all of your other metrics are going to complement each other, and you're going to see substantially improved return on ad spend. So at this point, you're probably saying, all right, Sam, I know how to use Facebook Ads Manager. I know the basics. I know your columns. I know the audience setup. I know your structure. I've watched 20 other videos. What about creatives? What do you do for creatives? How do you manage creatives? How do you figure out what creatives work and why? And how do you scale that process? Let me just tell you it all. You may have heard 100 times over, creative is king. Now, you're kind of right. We talked about that body of the car just a few seconds ago. The body of the car is the creative. If you're not traveling on the right road, you're toast. You need to have all of these elements all firing. It is critically important. Imagine you're targeting the completely wrong audience and trying to squeeze in this exact product or this exact kind of ad. It's not going to work, right? You need to talk to different audiences in slightly different ways. And most importantly, you need to know what's actually relevant now, because people get sick of ads. Ads fatigue. You have seen changes in your ad account. I'd almost guarantee everyone that's run ads before has seen an ad work really well for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and then right down to the gutter. And from what I can tell you, every single campaign that I've ever run that's been successful has visual elements that match the product, that match the brand, and ultimately tie everything together. Now, it can be really, really hard to curate good visuals year after year, month after month for different niches, across different product lines, across different brands and branding guidelines. There's so many different elements to it. And it's even harder to just keep up with what are other people doing, what's trending right now, what's hot right now, what's working right now. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to be giving you my entire swipe file for the last year of the best ads that we've seen across the board. And the best part is that this updates every single day. So don't worry if you're seeing this video a year later, 5 years later, whatever. This is something that we always are updating. So just be on the lookout for new ads added to this, and I'll tell you how you can get it in just a few seconds. So first off, we want to talk about static images. Static images need to be combined with videos and vice versa in order to have success in an ad account. I've very rarely seen an account that's able to just run videos or just run statics. You typically have to run both, especially in e-commerce, to be successful. So first, we're going to go through statics. What even makes a good static? The problem with that question is it's too broad. There's so many different categories. So what I'm going to do is I have put together this board with dozens and dozens of ads here from what we've seen work the best from some of our clients and some of our competitors for how we actually find inspiration to create ads on our side. So here's another key. Every single ad you're seeing here has run for over 100 days. And like I said before, you can get this entire file down in the description below. It's completely for free. Just click down in the description, you'll get the file. Now, I'm going to break down a bunch of different types of ads, why I think they're particularly good, it's going to be your job to actually figure out what you want to apply to your business based on your specific niche. Every ad here is really strong. A lot of these ads have run for well over 100 days. So first and foremost, anchor. And you're going to notice this is very similar to a lot of ads we're going to see. A lot of these ads share similar elements. In a static image, one of the things we're seeing most common, we are seeing huge text on top of the image. You can see here just in this one screenshot, we have anchor doing it here. We have another bag doing it here. No way that's a baby bag, right? Really, really clean. We have Honeylove doing it right here. Very clean, just big text. We have Ridge doing it. Another big text, big product image. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 12 or so ads on my screen are running with large text on top of image. That's what I want you to focus on for the first key takeaway. The second key takeaway is all of that large text is either bolded or so big that you can't miss it, right? So in this case for 8 Sleep, increase your daytime energy levels by up to 34%. It captures your attention in a quarter of a second. Next piece here, Brunt Footwear, next generation waterproofing. Each of these ads hits one very specific target for what their product solves. So think about it like that. Anchor, 6 devices, 1 place. That's a huge sell these days. I mean, look at my desk right here. I got like 36 devices plugged in. I need stuff like that. This is a great ad for me. It's probably why I saved it. And then think about some of these other ones down here. Best butt ever. This is the state that Good American, the jean company, wants you to be in. They want you to feel like you have the best butt ever. Brunt Footwear does a great job of highlighting waterproofing. Ridge, the toughest wallet that will last a lifetime. They're hitting something that they know their consumer wants. Daytime energy levels for 8 Sleep. Very, very, very clear. Ollie, real clean food for dogs. Very, very clear call to actions. All of these are hitting a chord. They are striking something that your customer, or in this case, their customers, very much want and very much talk about. So think about what your customers want and put that smack on the middle of the ad. I have a bunch more here, and I'll just go through a few of these really, really quickly. This is from a sales perspective. Restock, don't miss out. Best-selling 2-pack for first timers. Our sale page is the real deal. Big, bold text in your face. This is what we want. There's a lot more down here too. And same idea. We have everything hitting the most key fundamental. What is the difference maker for their product, right? So again, if you want this file for all the statics, down in the description below. Next piece is video. So when we think about ad videos, there are literally dozens of different kinds that we can run. There's meme videos, there's founder videos, there's long form, short form, there's real stories, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. There's literally dozens of different kinds, from beautiful to ugly to short to everything in between to very long, right? So keep in mind that what I'm going to give you is what we have seen work the best across dozens and dozens of e-commerce brands across the last 2 years, very specifically for e-com. Now, something might work a little bit different for you, but I just want to give you the keys to what we've seen work definitively. Now, the very first ad format is called the founder story. So the founder story, in short, is when the founder or someone who represents your brand gets right in front of the camera and specifically talks about the brand. There are hundreds and thousands of examples of this out in the market. I want to show you one from Vuori, which actually takes a slightly different approach. This is not the founder of Vuori, but it's someone who speaks as if they are representing the brand. It just goes to show that you don't need to be the person in charge. You don't need to be the CEO. You could just be the marketing manager. You could be the person that runs the ad, that actually creates this ad. And it doesn't need to be as polished as this example. So what I'm going to do is show you full screen a great example that we have here.
Hi, I'm Darren, a men's designer here at Vuori.
We right away start in the first 2 seconds. Hi, I'm so-and-so from Vuori, and he gives his title. It's super simple. It doesn't have to be too complicated.
And this is the Stratotech team. The Strato is when
he immediately then introduces the product, and then it cuts to B-roll. So in this section right here, we start to see models wearing the product, actually using the product, exact, very close up examples of the product, but it always returns back to the marketing manager or creative director. I can't remember his position, but it doesn't matter because I remember him and I remember the brand that he's introducing. He is talking to me directly, and that's exactly the purpose of this. So a founder video really has 3 main elements to it. First is the intro. The intro really needs to focus on you. Who are you and what are you selling? So this would literally be, hi, I am so-and-so, and I am the owner or founder or CEO or marketing manager of XYZ brand. That's your hook, right here. The second part of the founder story really hits in the body, right? The body of the ad. This is where all of the information is given. The body of the ad is where you give away all the keys. It's basically where you just spill the beans on why your brand is better and what you're specifically solving for. So this would be, hi, I'm the owner of XYZ and we sell t-shirts that do this better, or we sell shoes that are better than all the other brands because. So this follows up with a direct statement. So we do this because. That's the key, the because body. We do this because. After the body, keep in mind, the body could be anywhere from 20 seconds to even 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Right after the body is your hook, close, and guarantee. So this here is your hook, close, guarantee. And the core of the hook, close, guarantee is that you tell them you want them to buy. You have to have a direct call to action. You have some sort of close related to what they want to buy, and then you have a guarantee for you will love this purchase. If you don't love it, we'll give you your money back. 99% of the time, people will not act on it, except that you get a 1% return rate for a ton more people willing to purchase because of that guarantee. This is the founder story. This is one of the best ways that you could set up your ads, that you could literally take your camera right now, put it in front of your screen, and talk like you're the founder. Show a product, really, really simple. And before we even get to different ad formats, I want to show you different variations of the founder story. Now, in the first example, I showed you someone who is a marketing manager, a creative director of Vuori. Here's an actual founder ad from Hexclad. This ad has been running for a total of 46 days. It is still active right now. I'd imagine this ad is going to run for hundreds and hundreds of days because it is so clean. Also, note, there's no fancy production. There's no big lights and shiny cameras or anything. It's literally this guy behind his desk with a decent microphone.
I'm the guy who thought, what if cookware didn't suck?
Boom, right off the bat. I'm the guy who thought, what if cookware didn't suck? He takes the problem, he solves that problem in 2 seconds, and he keeps you curious in the first 3 seconds of the ad. And then the next section, he introduces himself.
And then made it happen. Hi, I'm Danny Weiner. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hexclad Cook.
Bam. Introduces the product, introduces who he is, and then throughout the rest of the body, they go really, really deep into everything that the product is and why it's better than the rest of the market. One of the most straightforward founder ads you could find. And guess what? It follows the same composition that we have here. Intro, hi, I'm so-and-so. Body, we do this because. Hook, close, guarantee. Really straightforward. Some other really, really great video ads just to give you some inspiration of things that actually work. We have, first off, from Scentbird here, comparing the state that you actually want to be in and giving a good offer. This ad's been running for 587 days. So alert, 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 steal it. Monster ad. And the next few ads I'm going to show you, 587, 441, 302, 312, 271. These ads don't die. They're killer. So Scentbird here, we have a very straightforward ad again. What I paid for the real cologne versus what I pay with Scentbird, $8.47. Value is instantly shown. Product is instantly shown. We have 2 seconds to completely capture attention. And keep in mind, look how native everything looks. Regular emojis, overlay what feels like on an Instagram photo. It's not over the top, right? We don't have everything super fancy. Everything's super simple and straightforward. Next here, we have finesse. So this is a very different kind of ad. It's not something I would necessarily copy right off the bat unless you had this level of model photos. So if you do, this is something I would do right away. Literally all this is doing is shuffling through a ton of different styles so you can get a quick look on one person what a bunch of different dresses look like. Really easy and captivating. It's like, this is one of the only ad formats where I can see 20, 30 different styles in a flash. And our minds are so incredible at capturing and seeing so many different things at once that in this ad, even though it's way too quick to really understand, you could know if this style fits for you. So if you're a woman and you want to buy these dresses, boom, you can know right away, all right, this is my style, click shop now. Next here from Honeylove. Honeylove are some of my favorite ads because they do such a good job at clearly addressing an issue and the solve they have for that issue. So in this case, we have a very unique ad from Honeylove, but it's been running for 302 days. We have an ad that uses an AI voice generation.
Pays for itself. Our average customer puts this on 3 times a week.
And just clearly shows off their product, plus calls out some of the average things that customers do with their products. Honey Love, again, all of them on the right side here, 271 days. This is a UGC style ad, something I would highly recommend running if you can. It's really straightforward. You are achieving the dream state that the customer wants with this product. One of the main things you should think about when you're selling, especially if you are in fashion, beauty, or wellness, you should really be thinking about what is the dream state that your product achieves, right? The dream state of Hexclad is no more bad dishes and sticky pans. The dream state of Scentbird is value and a variety of different scents. And we can kind of just go down the list of getting to all of these dream states. That is one of the things you should consider every single time you make an ad. So if I can give you the second ad format that works, it's thinking of it in a dream state format. It's not necessarily a format, but just think about that when you create your ad. And then the third thing is the ad that doesn't look like an ad, the ugly ad. The ugly ad is a term that's used all over the industry. It was kind of pioneered by a few people, one guy named Barry, and to be honest, they're great. They're a fantastic format. Ugly ads don't need to be completely ugly. They just need to feel native. It's basically a more catchy way of saying native ads. And you can see here, I want to give you this example. This is so good. This ad acts as if it's not an ad at all.
You have to go to our website to get it. Okay, you go tell.
Almost as if they're recording behind the scenes. You have to go to our website to get it. Just a little bit of that trickery sometimes goes a really long way. It makes you feel unique. It's not the only ad format you should have, but it's one of the many that you could have in your arsenal. So those are the 3 video formats that we've seen to be most successful this year so far. Now look, keep in mind, when you go to launch your new creatives, as I just told you before, you're not going to launch them into your existing ad sets and you're not going to create new campaigns for them. What you are going to do is you're going to use existing ad sets. And in those existing ad sets, you are very specifically going to enter your new creative into those, and only the top 10% of those ads. So we're literally duplicate the existing ad set. Only the top 10% of those ads actually get graduated. Now, let's say you found your winning ad. You used some of these templates, you created your own ads, you figured out what works for you. What do you do next? Because let's just use one of these examples here. Let's say this here was your ad. You figured out that this exact ad works for you. What do you do now? So what you do in the ad account is very straightforward, right? You graduate that winning ad. But what do you actually do to create more creative that looks like that winning ad? You want to look at metrics and you want to actually go off a little bit of a feel here. So when you create a winning ad, you basically have to think about each element, each part of the ad and how it plays a part in converting a customer. So let's think about an ad in multiple phases. So the ad itself has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It sounds really simple, but the beginning is actually the first 3 seconds. The middle could be anywhere from second number 4 all the way to 5+ minutes. And the end is usually the last 5 to 10 seconds. So 5 to 10, right? The key here is that the body is huge. The intro is really small and the end hooks very particularly and is also short. So what are we actually looking at in the ads manager? So when we go into the ads manager, the thing that you want to do is go to that number 1 winning ad. So for this example, let's just grab one of our top performing ads. Okay, great. So this video right here, just to put this into perspective, this video spent $13,000, 5x return on ad spend, $65,000 in revenue. What we're going to do is we're going to click view charts here. And when we view these charts, we're going to scroll down to video performance. And in this video performance, this is very key, we're going to be able to see the different milestones and a lot of video information and how we can modify against it. So what we're looking for and what we expect is in the first 3 seconds, somewhere in the range of 70 to 80% of total people drop off of the ad. Now you can compare this to your actual account average. To evaluate the very beginning, what we're looking at is cost per 3 second. That's a column set in Facebook. You can compare that to all your other ads. The next piece that we want to look at is we want to look at the percentage of people that reach 25% and 50%. Think about the length of your video as well. 50% of a 5 to 10 minute video is much harder to achieve than 50% of a 10-second video, obviously. So keep those benchmarks in mind. And the real benchmark we care about is video average playtime. So that here is the body, video average playtime. So in this case, we only had 4 seconds here, but video average playtime is how we can optimize the body. The next section here and the final is the hook. That hook is actually not measured through video plays because there's such a small percentage of people that actually make it to the very end. That hook is actually evaluated by cost per click or outbound click-through rate. Both of those. So compare that to your averages. If you see any of these metrics lacking, compared to your other ads, you know that there's an opportunity. For example, this is a very, very good example because what we can see here is our cost per outbound click is below our average. That indicates we are doing a very good job of getting people to click. However, when we start to look at different metrics like actual view time is only 4 seconds. I know the average on this account is actually more in the 6 to 7 second range because there's such a high engaging content account. And to me, that tells me that A, we probably have to hook people in better, and B, our body could be a little bit stronger. So we're doing really good on the hook. The intro is okay, but we're not holding people on some transition. So what I can do is I could look at this graph and understand where are people dropping off the most, and is there an opportunity for me to shorten things, adjust things, or move things around completely where I potentially put the hook earlier, maybe it goes intro, hook, body. Even though that sounds crazy, these are the things you can start to play with. You make modifications of little micro adjustments on winning ads only. You don't do this for your losers. You just do this for your winning ads because you found something. There's something here. We just got to make it better. 5%, 10%, 20% better. Harnessing the power of winning creatives is one of the most important parts of running Facebook ads. We keep talking about the body of the car. Creatives are literally the body. You can have a Ferrari engine in a Honda Civic, but when you're driving 60, 70, 80 miles an hour on the highway, no one's looking at you. You just look like any other normal car. But when you have that Ferrari body, that creative that looks so good, plus the Ferrari engine, you turn heads, you get people to come to your site, and you get people to convert. They trust the entire process. So again, if you have spent hours struggling to find what ads actually work, you've watched dozens of videos, you've tried to download things, you've tried to look at Facebook ads library, cool. That's fine. But you could download that entire swipe file that I just went through with all my favorite videos, all my favorite images. And this is also used across our team, our clients, our competitors, and brands that we frankly just like, brands that we are inspired by. It's down below. It's one of the first or second links in the description, and it is 100% free. And by the way, I'm giving away free things and I'm trying to give away a ton of value here. So if you like this video, subscribe. Most people who watch this are not subscribed, and everyone who is subscribed that leaves a comment gets a reply. So hit the subscribe button below. It means a whole lot to growing this channel. So now that you know my approach to Facebook ads, you know how we set up accounts, you know how we run creative, you know how we test different audiences, you know how we try to figure out what creative works. We have the body of the car, we have the engine of the car. Now it's time to get into the driver's seat. And this actually comes through the lens of growth marketing, specifically through budgeting. How much to spend, when to spend, why you're even spending that much in the first place. And for most people, this is one of the most nerve-wracking parts of marketing in general. They don't actually know how much to spend and why they're spending so much. And even worse, sometimes people feel like they're doing really, really good with their marketing. They're getting a high return on ad spend, but when they look in their bank account at the end of the month, there's a negative. We don't ever want that. We want to make sure that everything works out purely through math. There's no feel here. This is just crunching the right numbers. What I'm going to do right now is keep this as straightforward for you as possible so you can copy this into your business. Keep in mind, I am not a financial advisor, and you should always double check your numbers, because what I'm providing is the bare bones. This is the tactical stuff that you can apply today. Every business is different. So one of the main things you need to understand is, what does your return on ad spend need to be for you to break even? So this is all going to be focused on ROAS at a break even or CPA at a break even. And the way that we're going to calculate these is actually not that complicated at all. All you need to do is understand what's your average order value. In this example, we're going to pretend that our average order value is $100. Keep it really, really simple for us. Then we're going to take our cost of goods sold. This is how much your products cost plus any other little fees that might be involved in the process. For this example, again, we're just going to assume costs of goods are about 30%. So 30% of $100 is $30. That's going to then already bring us down to 70. Plus we're going to add in extra fees and different costs that might not be completely all there that we're not 100% sure of. So I'm just going to say miscellaneous, and we're just going to mark this at 5%. So 5% of $100 is going to be 5. What that's going to put us is 100 minus 30 minus 5 is obviously going to be 65. That means that when we sell a product for $100, it turns into $65 in profit for us. So at a very simple fundamental level, our cost per acquisition to break even is $65. If we acquire a customer for $65, we'll make $0 in profit, $0 in loss. Now, where this gets a little bit trickier is what does our return on ad spend need to be? Our return on ad spend is actually a pretty simple formula. So we know that our profit per sale based on a $100 average order value, $65. All we then need to do is take $100 divided by 65, which gets us to our return on ad spend target to break even. In this case, that return on ad spend target to break even is going to be, drum roll please, 100 divided by 65, 1.54. So we now know that our break-even ROAS is 1.54. So what does this actually mean for us? This means that if we could achieve a 1.54 return on ad spend or a cost per acquisition of $65, so if CPA equals our profit, or if our return on ad spend is 1.54, we make $0 profit, 0 loss, we just break even. But we acquire a customer. That customer is very likely to repeat and come back over and over again. The break-even strategy is one of the most complex, one of the most risky, but one of the most rewarding strategies because customers come back over and over and over again. What you do is you acquire customers rapidly, and it's one of the fastest ways to grow. But let's just pull back because you need to know your target. The 1.54 that I'm giving in this example, you need to understand what is your break-even ROAS, what is your break-even cost per acquisition. Without those, you have no idea where to set your goals. You need to know your red light, your yellow light, and your green light. Red light should be the situation where you're just breaking even. Yellow light should be just above that break even, and green light should be well above. We're talking 20 to 30% above that break even. So if I had a 1.54 break even target, I would treat my green light around a 1.75. I would treat my red light right around a 1.4 to 1.5 because I'm losing money on that. And then I would treat my yellow right at the target of 1.54 because I'm okay. I'm acquiring customers. I'm not taking a loss. I'm still growing my business. And understanding these is really, really important, even if you're starting out today. Literally, if you've made 0 sales ever, these are still the most important things to know going into your business before you set up a product and start sourcing overseas and do all of these fancy, complicated, long-winded, time-consuming things that are going to eat so much time, effort, money. And if you can't figure out what your break-even is, or if that break-even is a ridiculous 4, 5, 6, 7 return on ad spend, well, I have news. This is not 2005 anymore. This is not 2010 Facebook ads, right? Facebook ads used to be easy. Facebook ads is hard now. Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, all ads are competitive and much harder. So getting an 8 or 9 or 10 return on ad spend on your very first product that you've not proven yet is going to be really hard. So make sure these numbers crunch and work for you. So you know your targets, you understand what you need to do, you know your goals, you know your KPIs. One of the most complicated things that gets asked to me all the time, even though it sounds like such a simple question, is how much should I spend on ads? Where do I even start? Or how do I scale those ads? So I'm going to answer the first, which is how to spend when you're starting. The easiest way to figure out your very first budget is set your budget equal to your average order value. If you set your budget equal to your average order value, what this is going to create is you could at least set yourself up where you are spending the amount that requires one purchase to occur. It's not going to completely break you if you blow through your budget for 3 or 4 days, but it's going to at least put you in a little bit of an aggressive state where you could, at bare minimum, get some sales coming in. That's the point. The point of starting is not to immediately get the best return on ad spend. You need to iterate. As I've been explaining for multiple hours at this point, this is an iterative process, right? This is a time consuming, this is hard work. So the average order value setting to your first initial budget is the easiest way to do it. In this example, I'm going to show you if I had an average order value of $100 and therefore my starting budget was just $100 in Facebook. Now, I mentioned a complicated setup, but as you start, you can't have a huge complicated setup all broken out, all these divisions. So what I would do if I was just starting with $100 is I would start off with literally one Advantage Plus shopping campaign. In this shopping campaign, I'd put all my ads in there. And then what I would do is as I start to find winners in that ad set, I would graduate those. So keep in mind here, $100 in the ASC campaign. The thing that comes next is scaling. There is a made up 20% rule. I wish I had a genie hat on or something. I don't know who made this up. I don't know why they made it up, but I could tell you it's kind of made up because Facebook doesn't want to scare you. They don't want you to go from $100 to $500. And then all of a sudden you go from 500 and your ROAS tanks from 3 or 4 all the way down to 0.5 or 1. That makes people pause ads. That makes people stop advertising. What makes people continue to advertise is they go from 100 to 120 to 140 to 180 and so on. However, that takes a lot of time to scale. Now, I'll tell you from experience, I have scaled accounts literally from $10,000 per day to $100,000 per day overnight. In fact, beyond that, of being very straightforward. We have quadrupled, we have 10x budgets overnight. There is not a rule. The reason that this rule exists is because when you run ads at a $100 budget, you get a certain number of impressions. Let's say these impressions are represented as these dots, and that's how many impressions you get for a $100 ad budget. When you move up to a $120 ad budget, you then get a couple more impressions, right? So instead of these 5 dots I have, now we have 6 dots. These impressions take multiple days to convert. So this guy right here might take 5 days to convert. This one might only take 1. This one might take 14. So what's going to happen is if we just keep this same budget, this guy, this 14-day impression that's going to take 14 days to actually make a purchase is going to convert, and it's going to look very positive to our return on ad spend. So we build this pool of impressions, and slowly over time, these impressions eventually begin to purchase. And what happens if you scale slowly, so you go to 120, as I'm showing you here, then the impression pool doesn't take a big hit. So it only increases a small percent, 10, 20%, and therefore you don't feel the impact in the ad account, you don't freak out. However, here's what happens when you move from 100 to 1,000, so 10xing your budget. So you have these 100 impressions, these 5 impressions for $100, and some of these take a few different days to convert. When you move to a whopping $1,000, you then 10x potentially your total impressions. So I'm going to keep this quick here, but we just build out all of our impressions. Let's just, for the sake of this, pretend that that's 10 times more than I had here. The key of this and why this is so important, why this works so well, and also not just why it works well, but why it creates so much fear in the market. Some of these impressions take 7 days, 14 days, 20 days to actually convert. So if this guy takes 20 days to convert, and this one takes another 15 to convert, and so on, and all of these are taking massive amounts of time to convert, then what's going to happen for the first 1 to potentially 10 days, or 5 days, or 15 days? What's going to happen here is you're going to have a period where impressions are still learning about your brand. Take that away. If you take one thing away, when you scale, people are learning about you. It's a good thing. People need to learn about you. They need to see your ads multiple times. They need to see different ads. They need to see multiple product offerings. They need to maybe check you out on Instagram, right? They're learning about you. They're not just going to see your ad for the first time and instantly buy 2 seconds later, right? That doesn't really happen too much. So that learning process isn't learning in the ad account. It's people learning. So just understand that it takes some time for people to learn. Now, you might want to know, when do I know I can scale? The easiest way you know you can scale is if you're hitting your target return on ad spend and your Shopify metrics align. If you have a return on ad spend target of, let's say, 2 and you're hitting a 3 and your Shopify return on investment is 3 or greater in many cases, scale. Just simply scale up. The thing that you can know how much you can scale and how aggressively you can scale is by looking at your conversion rate in Shopify. So I want to give you an example here. This is the Shopify sales over time dashboard broken out hourly. And during this period, we scaled orders 130% and we scaled total sales 121%. The key of this, all of this data here, is how. Why did we do this? What happened? What happened was we noticed right early in the morning, right around 6 or 7 in the morning, we noticed that our conversion rate was trending much higher than the previous day. So we can see it was just above, which is the dark blue line. It was just above the previous day, which is the dotted line. And then around 6 or 7 in the morning, it started to take a spike. So instead of just letting this go and just letting it continue to do its thing, we wanted to widen the gap. So we increased spend. We doubled spend, literally doubled spend. And in this period, we saw almost every single hour after, except for this odd hour here, we saw the gap widen. Look how big the gap was by 10 p.m. that night. The previous day made $400, $466. We were making $2,296 per hour, right? Think about doing this when you're scaling your business. You should see a direct impact to your sales. The next thing that you could look at here, which is the same thing that we're always going to be looking at, is your conversion rate on the store for that day compared to the previous day. What we're noticing here is this is exactly the same thing. We noticed an improvement in conversion rate on this day, a big improvement in conversion rate. So all we wanted to do was get conversion rate to get closer. We actually wanted conversion rate to get a little bit lower because we didn't want to leave any money on the table. So we were scaling into a conversion rate that we knew was acceptable. These are 2 reports you could look at. They're free, they're in your Shopify, and I highly recommend you get very comfortable with them. And really important to know here, you always need to track how much you're spending and your core KPIs. I always recommend you have some sort of budget tracker. What we do for all our clients at the Moonlighters is we set up a very simple report. People get really complicated, have all these complex reports. Let me just give you a little peek onto what some of our reports actually look like, just so you can kind of maybe copy this for yourself. So the key of this report is that we could see every single channel every single day. That's all we really need. We have other breakdowns. We have deep dives, monthly breakdowns, weekly breakdowns, a daily pacing tracker, all this fancy stuff. But to be completely honest, all you need is this. You need a tracker that shows you how much you're spending in total per day, how much revenue your Shopify store is driving, and your ROI and your MER, your marketing efficiency ratio. Knowing these metrics every single day gives you a pulse on your business. It lets you know, was yesterday good? Is this week good? Is this month good? Are we tracking to the goal and the KPI that were set that allow us to be profitable? That's what's most important. Now, sadly, I've seen dozens of brands that I've personally audited trying to follow individual pieces of videos just like this, or videos that might provide a little bit of value, or a strategy that worked 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Unfortunately, 99% of these brands fail, not because they don't have a good product, not because they don't have a good website, but because they can't create a predictable and scalable system. So I promised you at the beginning 5 secrets. Now, I'm going to give you 5 secrets that are also 5 of the most common mistakes that brands make. Avoid these mistakes at all costs. The very first secret, the most important thing you need to understand, is to actually optimize on a click-based metric. You don't set your account on a click-based metric, but you do actually look at the data in click-based attribution. So what does that actually mean? When we go into our ad account, the actual setting in the campaign is 7-day click, 1-day view. But what you can do is go into your column set and scroll down to compare attribution settings. Once you're here, click 1-day click, 7-day click, and 1-day view. This is going to allow you to see the breakdown between view-based conversions, click-based conversions, and 7-day click conversions. What you always want to do is you want to optimize on the click data and avoid looking at the view data. This will tell you over time, this will literally reveal to you that certain ads and certain campaigns just do a really good job of hitting people who may have purchased from you already. So you always optimize and make informed decisions on the click data, but you allow Facebook to learn from the view data and the click data. Really important. Next, most people are targeting all of their products. They are literally advertising everything that they sell all the time. Be sure not to be one of these people. Advertise the top 20% of products that drive 80% of your sales. So what we do at the Moonlighters is we do what's called an 80-20 analysis. I'm going to just show you this in a very, very rough format because I think it's so important. So what we do is we pull a Shopify product analysis and a Google and a Meta product analysis. So as you can see from this example right here, we get to our 80% of revenue on a total product count of 42. Now, I would guess that this product count for this brand is huge. And guess what? You're right. The actual SKU count for this brand is over 1,000 products. 40 products, 40, drive over 80% of the total revenue for this business. So I have no business driving ads to over 1,000 products when I could really focus on 40 that drive nearly all of the revenue. The only one exception to this is that you still need to prioritize your new arrivals. So really focus on your best sellers and know what those best sellers are from the actual cash in the business and not just what you think is selling the most. Look at what drives 80% of the revenue for your business. You could do this in your Shopify reports, you could do this in your Facebook reports, and you could do this in your Google reports. It's really, really important. The next piece here is to do the same exact thing for day of week. Day of week is one of the most underrated analyses that you can possibly do. So what we do on our side in the deep dive is we break down by day of week. You could pivot out all this data yourself. This is a complex report, but what you need to understand is that different days of the week convert better or worse for every single brand in the entire world. So what we can see here is that for some reason for this brand on Wednesdays, they crush. 15.15 return on ad spend on Wednesdays, where the rest of the days are much lower. In fact, 15.45 is the peak, and then we see Thursday, Friday, Saturday do really, really well, and we see a drop off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So what do we want to do? We want to take this information and we want to spend more on the days of the week that convert better. It might not be an 80-20 rule, but generally speaking, increase budgets on days when you're having more and higher conversion rates. You could also do the same exact analysis in your Shopify store. Just go into your Shopify store, look at conversion rate by day of week, and really just spend more money when conversion rates are higher. It's going to create a good balance for your business. The next thing here, and I have no data to show you on this one, but I want to give you a really big bomb, a good, really positive note here. Spend heavy into the holidays. Whether it's a Labor Day sale, a Memorial Day sale, a summer sale, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, don't be afraid to discount heavy. And the other note here is that when that holiday rolls around, when next November, next December rolls around, hit it full speed. Don't be afraid to discount your brand. I have news for most people watching this video. You're probably not Nike. You're probably not Lululemon. You're probably not Range Rover or Apple. And if you are, incredible. And let's keep it real. Those brands didn't get there because they didn't discount. They got there because they offer incredible high-end products. They didn't perceive the customer that they're a high-end brand. No, they offered top-notch products. You could discount a top-notch product. It doesn't devalue your brand. At the stage that you are when you're Nike, Lululemon, Range Rover, and Apple, of course, discounting 30% looks like the brand's on fire at this point. But if you're doing 5, 10, 20, even $50 million, which yes, is a lot of money, a discount doesn't hurt your brand reputation. It just gets you to collect cash. If you're just starting out, don't be afraid of discounts, right? Just generally, people have a very bad taste in their mouth when they think about high discounts. In general, discounts equal cash. So hit the holidays hard, start early. It's usually better to promote early, get ahead of when most people are going to advertise. For example, if it was Black Friday, go 2, 3, even 4 weeks ahead. Start as early as you feel comfortable and as early as your business will allow. And number 5, secret number 5, the thing that I see the most problems with. Brands do something good. They get that return on ad spend number. They get that KPI and then they stop. They sit back. They say, these ads work. We're just going to keep running them. Always be adding. Always add new ads to your ad account. Always be testing. Always try new things. And when things work, double down. Push hard when things work. That is my final piece of advice. I really sincerely hope that you received a boatload of value out of this video. I mentioned before that there's a swipe file down below with all the creatives I have. If this video was super valuable, hit the subscribe button and let me know any question or comment below. I reply to every single subscriber. Now, I just did something crazy. I just gave you 11 years of my Facebook ad experience from managing some of the biggest brands in the direct-to-consumer world completely for free. But it could still be confusing to implement all of this strategy, all of this advice into your ad account all at once. So if you happen to own an e-commerce brand or you're a CMO or a director of marketing and you're spending around $30,000 plus per month in advertising and you're looking for a team to come in and help, there's a link down in the description below to apply. And if not, this info is still completely for free because I want to train every single person that's watching videos just like this to come back to us 2, 3, even 10 years down the road when ultimately you build that successful brand. There's a whole lot more information here. Hit the subscribe button and let me know if you have any comments down below. I will see you all in the next one.